watching SKST Radio.
Well. Welcome to another episode of SKST Radio, and you tuned into Small Business Network with Kami Grayson and friends. And I have a new friend today. She goes by the name of Feather. Is that right?
Yeah, Feather, aka Denise.
There Feather. You go. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kami. I love your introduction.
Well, thank you. It's all prissy, the girl thing.
Yeah,
so tell people who you are and what you do.
Well, geez, it could be a long story, but we have some time left.
Right.
Yeah, and some ways I like to just say that overall I'm a magical helper. It sounds kind of childish, but at the same time, I worked with children for 30, almost 40 years now. Uh-huh. So being a magical helper with children has certainly been a big influence in my life and for my own imagination and for my own connection as well to intuition. So I call myself a magical helper. I'm an author. I'm a director, writer, producer for children's shows. I'm also an intuitive guide. And I am also, a new author from my first month, Once Upon a Solar Time. So all those combined, I guess one could say I'm a creative artist.
Oh, it sounds so cool. So tell us a little bit about how you got started into this cool world.
Yeah, this whole world. Well, it does go back quite a number of years ago. I had an intuition, I guess one would say, even at the age of 20. That first of all, I didn't choose to go to school after grade 12. I didn't feel that I was a performance poet at the time. I was writing so much poetry and putting it out there. And I had this intuition to open up a theater school for children in Toronto, which is a very big city. I came from a small town. It was a big chance, one might say, but everything fell into place, right from finding the right private school to finding the place to bring the children to. So early days, I was already co-creating with children and their imaginations from like age 21. That's when I started with children.
Wonderful. So the world of working with children, I worked with children for several years with Girls Incorporated, and I used to teach dance. I had my own dance school and mentoring program. So when you get with those kids, you sort of have that ambition to help them be the best them they can be, right?
Exactly. And that's why I call myself a magical helper, in the sense that all the theater plays that we do, there is always a character called a magical helper that appears and just sort of puts things together at the right moment. And that's what I feel I've done for children, and many, acknowledgments through letters and afterwards saying, oh, you made my dream come true. I wanted to try to be this character and I got to try it on. And because I never force a child to be a certain character. They get to choose and live out something inside themselves based on the character they chose. So.
Oh, wow. So now these plays that you did for the kids, are the kids involved to help write the scripts, or is it something that you script out for them?
Well, I script it out for them, but I do record a lot of the improvs in the rehearsals so that I get direct words from them. So when I come back with the script and they hear I put it all together, and you imagine I have to put 12. Probably the most I have in one group is 15, but I like working with a dozen kids. But I have to put all these ideas and blend them and make sure that each child is getting satisfaction with the character that they come up with, and of course the storylines and the plots that the kids want as well. So if I come back and I say something this character is supposed to say, and that child doesn't feel that would be what that character would say, I change it, or I say, well, you put it in your own words. So it is a co-creative. It's never top down all the time.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I know, because sometimes they have a way of writing them. Things have the way of writing themselves, especially if you have a character a character that is in the play. Sometimes they make a funny and you didn't expect it to be funny, but it was so cool you want to leave it in the show. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
working.
And the kids, like I said, they make it fun. They challenge me as well to try to keep it fun as well. And I always want to have. I always try to have a dance in there. It's not
Uh-huh.
like 100% choreographed or whatever, but create a movement. And sometimes we have songs, like the children make up the songs, or I make up a song and I teach it to them. It's very organic. So I've been
Yeah.
doing that for a long time, and I was in Toronto. Then I sold my business, and I went to Europe, and went into my inner world for a while and discovered different gifts I had. And then I went to Salt Spring Island, a small island in Canada,
Okay.
and I opened up a gallery of performance art there, and I started again to work with children and also adults. I moved into adult theater and created a space where people could come and uh, present themselves and their creativity, whether it's singing, songwriting, poet, a small theater piece. But my magic in my life really began when I went to Asia, and I the serendipity of how I found this
Mhm.
ad in a local newspaper, wherein I rarely looked at ads for work. And it was like an ad to be a drama instructor in Singapore. I didn't even know that there was a country called Singapore. Uh, this is back in 1990, 99, I think it was. And I had a shower curtain that was the map of the world. So I went to that shower curtain and I'm like, oh my God, there's Singapore. So I started investigating it. And within I had the interview a week later. And 2 weeks later, I was on a plane with, um, a couple of trunks of stuff.
Mhm.
Just said goodbye to Canada. I thought it was only going to be 2 years because it was a 2-year contract. I ended up staying in Asia for 14 years. So
Oh my gosh.
life changing. You
So
never know, huh? So it
yeah,
was
you
seven
never
years
know.
in Singapore, then 7 years in Phuket, Thailand.
Wow, wow. Well, you know what? That's good. That's kind of like a spiritual pathway, right? And so you never know where you're going to end up. God has a way of channeling our paths or the spirits or however, whatever you're used to saying. But you have that path that's sort of kind of built for you to follow, right?
Yeah. And that's where the link with imagination and intuition is super strong in me. It's super strong astrologically. I've known it for a long, long time. And to meld those two, that's how I can be in service to children and also with adults now in my life. Because since 2009, when I had a mystical experience, I have kind of what's the word surrendered, I guess, to working with what I feel is angel vibrations. And
Okay.
that helped me move into the adult world and be an enchanted helper for adults as well, to keep them, you know, to keep the simplicity, like with if there's a belief in angels, this is me. There's a belief in angels. For me, it's like it keeps life simple and knowing that
Right.
we're not alone. Do you know what I mean, Cami?
Right, right. So, well, explain to us about your mystical calling. How did that
Well,
happen? How did you know that that really was what was for you?
yeah, because it was a combination of things that were going on in my life. I had just built a house with a partner in Thailand, in Phuket, Thailand, and our relationship wasn't super great. And I started to just call and read a lot of books about angels and angel influences. And around the time when I had this experience, I was in the process of breaking up with this partner that I had had for 8 years, and we had only had the house for 6 months, something like that. It was
Hmm.
very, very devastating. And then one day, I had this book on my table down below. It was called Guidance from Your Angels. And I came down one morning, and there on the table was a white feather, like just there, and like no windows are open. And I'm like, how did that get there? And it was a sense of because I always believed in an Archangel Michael.
Mythical being.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I just felt that they were talking to me in a very subtle and, in a way, childlike way, very simple, childlike way. It's just a feather, and it had to stir in me a level of belief that I never even knew I had to come forward and say, okay, what do you want me to do now? And for me, that was the whole process. It felt fairly mystical because I didn't know where I was being directed, because this relationship was changing, and that no longer was going to be part of my life.
Right.
And then when this came in to sort of replace it, I've never looked back. Of course I had many months of getting through the grief of betrayal and all kinds of emotional stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I kept getting signs of feathers.
Wow.
I
Amazing.
kept getting signs. Like I had a little pool. I'd swim and I'd get to the end of the end, and I can remember one time just coming up, and there on my little finger was a feather stuck to my little finger. I'm like, how does this happen? Feathers were dropped at my door. I didn't know why, and so there was so many signs from feathers that I had to keep surrendering.
Right. So thus Feather, aka Denise.
Yeah, and how I changed my name to Feather was a little bit later. In 2015, I was felt a calling to be part of a transformational leadership journey in Ecuador with 24 other people who do different types of healing, and we were going there to help Amazon tribes change their dirty water to clean water with filters. So I was called to go on this journey. And at that time, Zoom was just coming out, and we had to meet on Zoom in 2015. And there was many women with the sound of D in there, like Diane and Deanna and Debbie, and then it was Denise. And I'm like, no, I just felt at that time, this was a time.
You got to be a different D.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
So I changed my name to Feather so that when I met these people who I never knew, they would start calling me that, and I would feel how that felt, because they knew me as Feather. They didn't know me as Denise.
Right.
So
Right.
I switched it over then, and I continued to use it.
Wow. Wow. That's the best time to switch if you have like your nicknames and things like that, because sometimes you don't want those nicknames to follow you when you're an adult, right? I have a nickname that's Coco, and if someone calls me Coco, I know that they're from my childhood.
Yeah.
They knew me growing up. But if you call me Kami, I know you knew me and you met me in my adult life, And so it's just amazing how you can do that. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to comment, Kami, on what you just said about changing your name, if I may. I mean, and
Yes.
you probably know too, is like it's a different vibration that you end up holding. Like somebody called me, my parents, named me Denise. I never got to name myself.
Right, right.
And sometimes we do that when we're a lot younger, but I took many years to get to the point of calling myself Feather. But for you, probably the same. Kami is a vibrational for you, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a short acronym for Kamala. And so by the way it's spelled is different from the way it's pronounced. So you were always as a kid, that's not my name. I didn't know any better, And so for them at that time, it would have been so easy to just say, it's like Pamela with a K, Kamala.
Yeah.
Like the vice president now, Kamala. That's how my name is pronounced, but it's not spelled the way it's pronounced.
Yeah.
So as a kid, you wouldn't have known any better, so you're always correcting people. So I decided I'm going to go by Kami. Nice and simple, quick, easy.
Soft. It's very soft.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And so here I am. I've been Kami for several years now.
Especially family, yeah.
Yeah, but family still call me Coco. That name will never go away. And it's like, I don't want my new friends to be calling me that, so don't call me that.
I hear you, because my nieces and nephew, they're grown up, but they always call me Nisi, Aunt Nisi. and they still call me that. It's endearing, so I don't force you have to call me Auntie Feather. Like, forget it. But anyhow,
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sort of like that too. And so people be like, I think yesterday we were on a call, and somebody came back and said, Coco. I think that was Royal that did that. I don't know, but that was kind of funny. I was like, "Ah, you've been talking to my cousin," so I know exactly where that came from.
yeah. And speaking of names, so like when I called my book Once Upon a Solar Time, I did a check in Amazon and different sites or whatever. Has anybody made that title? Because you never, you don't want to have the same title as somebody else.
Right.
But when I found nobody did, it resonated with me as a name for my book for the longest time, because this is a long project. This book took me a long time to write. I used to call it a novel project because it was like a project to write the novel.
Oh my God.
But it's not a great name. So Once Upon a Solar Time became the name that I only discovered that in last year, 2022, because the book was finally published in December 20th, 2022. But it had taken me, Kami, and I admit this no longer with shame or shyness. It took me 45 years to write it.
Yeah, I can believe you. I can believe you because you wouldn't know a good man if you saw one. That was a story that took me probably 8 years to complete. I ended up doing a stage play first, before I actually put it out there as a book.
Yeah.
I converted it to the stage play, then back to the book.
And then back to
Now I got to turn it into a screenplay, and still haven't done that part yet.
Yeah, because you probably do. You're probably a multitasker like me, and we do so many things. And I mean, I could give you tons of excuses why I never got it published on time, but I got it published. I mean, it did it when I did it. I finally finished it. There's an article that's out in a magazine, a wonderful friend of mine, Esther Austin. It's called, her magazine is called Turning Point, Your Lifestyle, Your Wellness magazine. And I wrote it, it's called I Am a Woman, I Am an Auntie, I'm an Author. And in that article, I explained that for me, writing the book was not giving up on a dream, and how important it is, no matter what age you are, for me, it's important to not give up on dreams. Like these were seeds that were planted, and I believed enough in myself over time. I took those writings all the way to Asia, like files that I still have on my floor, like written, the first versions of my book. And I took those all the way to Asia and left them in the closet. But I would kind of, when I meet new people and they say, well, what do you do? And I'd always somehow tell them I was writing a book. But I kind of thought that I was lying so I was bragging, I was lying because I wasn't really working on it.
Yeah.
But it was still there. It was always this dangling creative jewel that I needed to, take and polish.
But my theory on that, right? My theory is you had to keep bragging about it. You had to keep talking about it in order to keep it manifesting. So even though you're busy and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're doing this, you still have that. And so, yeah, I'm still working on a book. I have 5 books that's waiting on me to finish.
Wow.
5 books is waiting to be completed. But I do know the title of each one of those books. I know where I left off at. So at the end of the day, if you don't keep them in your limelight, they're just going to disappear. So you have to keep saying that. You got to keep manifesting it to life.
Yeah, and it's like saying, when you speak it, it's asking it to come into being. Mm-hmm. You know what? If I say, oh, I'm going to tell a friend I'm going to start drinking more water, for example, well, then I've just spoken something that I need to honor.
Yes.
So and many times it might, I have many people follow me, so to speak, with, are you finished that book? I remember you telling me you were writing a book, and those little nudges were good reminders to
yes, absolutely. And it's a good way to do that too is you ask Alexa to do it for you. So I asked Alexa to remind me to drink water every hour on the hour.
Wow.
And when I'm at home, guess what? I get that all night long. If I wake up in the middle of the night and Alexa will 2 o'clock in the morning remind me to drink a glass of water.
Wow,
Because
smart.
yeah, it's because I don't drink water. If it's not in front of me, I am not going to drink it. So
Yeah.
I have to keep it going to drink water. I'll
Yeah.
drink a cold drink. I'll drink some tea. I'll drink some juice. I'll drink, milk. I'll drink anything but water. And so I have to have that reminder to always drink water.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So one other thing, or there's many things, but with the book, these two beautiful girls, they were actually students of mine in my drama club where I locally live now. I started working with this girl on the left. Her name is
mhm.
Emily, when she was 8 years old, and
Oh
then
wow.
her little sister joined about a year later, and she was only 6, I think. And at that time, I was having the age group between 7 and 12, but I
Mhm.
allowed her in because it was family, whatever. And they stayed with me in my drama club for 5 years doing different shows. So when I came back after the pandemic, I had to go to Ontario and take care of my mom. And when I came back, and I'm going to do this book. I asked the parent, the mother, if I could, if the young girls, now they're 16 and 14, would be able to be on the cover of my book, and they were thrilled to participate.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful,
yeah,
wonderful.
because the main characters are 14-year-old girls, and they look. I mean, they're beautiful girls. And they
Right.
look about that age. So, and I helped design the book. With the Friesen Press, I was able to give them suggestions of what I wanted, and took a number of different tries, but eventually they came up with what I think is a very pleasing book cover.
Wow. So let me ask you this: as far as writing your book, what was your aha moment when you first got your book published?
What was my aha moment when?
You got your book published.
Um, yeah, there was definitely a sense of relief,
Hmm.
but it 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 went hand in hand with feeling that a part of me had died. So like I had a huge postmortem after the book because there was so much creativity that went into it. But after, like, there was, I didn't have that same pulse going through me to
Hmm.
finish it. But I did have, maybe I could go back to something of an aha moment inside the book when I was coming to the end of the book, and I'm not going to give it away, but when I was coming to the end of the book, I was making some connection with research online, and I wanted the book to have sort of a very spacious ending, and I
Hmm.
wanted an image to go with it. And okay, long story short, I guess I could say I was searching, and went into the NASA, United States NASA site,
Hmm.
and I had the idea of how it should end, and then I was looking at pictures to kind of stimulate me. I
Hmm.
think this is making sense. And I turned a page, and there was an image of a rocket ship with a feather on it.
Oh no. Are you kidding
I'm
me?
kidding. And I'm not kidding. And that was an aha moment, a whole bunch of chills.
Uh-huh.
And I
That's
went,
amazing.
I know this is the ending of where the characters have to go in the book. Um, so like next chapter. And it was kind of it's hard to describe because it was so present. So, but then I picked this photo that I liked because it had blues and purples in it, and these were the colors of the girls. The particular girls were indigo
Hmm.
and lilac. These were the colors that they liked, or that were part of their energy field. And it took me about 2.5 months after I tried to get in touch with the photographer or the designer of that photo, and he
Uh-huh.
did work for NASA. And I tried different ways. I called there. I wrote a letter. Da da da. And then one day I just said, oh, maybe he's on Facebook. So I found him on Facebook and I wrote, can I have permission to use this photograph in my book? And he was like, no problem. It's a public photo. You can use it, and all the best to what you're doing. So it was just those kind of steps. How when you follow,
Yeah,
Tammy, when you follow your intuition, it just it serves. Huh?
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so tell people how they can purchase that book.
Well, Once Upon a Solar Time is available on Amazon. It's available on Kindle, like Amazon Kindle books. It's also available on with Barnes and Noble. You can buy it as a hardcover, softcover, or an e-reader book. And also it's through Friesen Press. This is the press I have got it published with, which is a Canadian publisher. And if somebody wanted a signed copy, I still have a few that I could sign and post it to them directly if they wanted a signed copy of either a hardcover or a soft cover.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want you to be part of our network. We do have Arthur's Network on Facebook. It's SKST. What is it? SKST Arthur's Network. That's what it is. SKST Arthur's Network. So please join that. We are going to build that network and help other networks grow. And so we cross post, we share, where our books are, we share our book covers, we share all kinds of things, and we invite one another to different readings, podcasts, all kinds of things like that. Whatever it takes to get the author's information out there, that's what we're here to do. And so we would love for you to be a part of the Authors Network. And as we go into our new season, the first part of the season, we highlight the authors. We highlight the authors for like about 3 months. So we have nothing like, instead of like what we're doing for the Business Network, we do the same thing for the Authors Network. Nothing but authors. Authors come out and they talk about illustrators, things like that, people who need to know you and you need to know them type thing. And so, we would love for you to be a part of that.
Wow. Thank you, Kami.
Yep, absolutely. And then before we end the show, we want you to give us some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Well, I guess I could quote something I wrote in this article for the Turning Point magazine. And I would suggest you look up Esther Austin. She's an awesome woman who's doing many, many things out of UK. Many things with musicians in particular. Yeah. I can send you a link, but
thank you.
Yeah. So one thing I wrote in the book in that article was I said, children naturally, no, what do I want to say? Yeah. Wandering through the infinite landscapes of children's imagination has created in me a vast respect for the phrase, anything is possible if you put your mind to it. So with that kind of sense of wonder, because I never had a child. So I am loving that I can still be childlike even at my tender age. But
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that phrase is like one of the phrases that really got me going because I'm a dreamer. And I am one of those people, if I say I'm going to do it, I usually do it. I'm not a person that's going to give up easy. And that started as a child with that same phrase instilled in me. So if you put your mind to it, you can do it. You
can do it. It reminds me, Kami, of when I was in grade 3, my first speech, and I won 3rd prize. I wrote a speech about Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream.
Oh, wow.
And it's probably some kind of seeding way back then. And how did I know the dream I had back then at 8 years old?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, everything that we grew up with, the older people in our lives that are probably no longer with us, they planted those seeds a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us to keep nurturing those seeds and getting them out there and manifesting those
Yeah.
dreams. So
So anything is possible. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, we're gonna have to go. We're at the end
Yeah.
of our show time, but I want to thank you so much, Feather, for being on the show. And like I said, we would love to see you again on the Arthur's Network side, doing what you do best, and that's making things happen. And I love that you're working with the kids. That's one of my passions. So thank
Yeah.
you so
And I'd
much.
like to get to know a bit more about you through your Facebook page. And if things are up in my area or something I can invite you in, then for sure I will.
Oh, love it. I will absolutely love it. Thank you so very much. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay, guys. This is the end of the show. Please go get her book. She's in Barnes and Noble. She's on Amazon. She's everywhere. Just Google the book, okay? And you'll see this on our YouTube. So please like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate it. Tell them bye, Denise.
Thanks, Kami.
Bye-bye.
Bye.